Hello, everybody. Welcome to Spirit Coffee Talk. Myself, Ginette, and Elyse join each other every week. If you're new here, welcome. If not, grab your coffee, and we are going to get into a doozy today. So we always kind of reminisce a little bit beforehand, just about what's going on, and it kind of always spurs what we're going to talk about. And it is almost the portal for like our eclipse season. And I think that just the idea that there is something happening, like where even if we're not really fully aware of what the whole eclipse season is or what eclipse do or like how it affects us, I think generally speaking in humanity right now, we could say, hey, what's going on? Is it full moon? Is it retrograde? Is it like, what is going on right now? Because we're all feeling a little bit of something, whether it's ascension symptoms where we're feeling a little tipsy-turvy, a little off balance, a little like lightheaded, or we're feeling extra tired, or we're feeling like, how can I explain it? They're giving it to me almost like not specific deja vu, but almost that same kind of like sensation where you're like, I don't feel so fully grounded in this moment. Like, did something
It's like,
just
where
happen?
am I?
Totally. So we're
Yeah.
going to dive into kind of what the energies of this eclipse is, especially this one coming up here in the new moon, this last one in Aries, right? The last new moon in Aries also comes with a lunar eclipse, which is very, very powerful. And I think we're already feeling the effects of it. So maybe like grab a pen and a paper too, just to kind of jot down some notes, because what cool thing about, well, us having these conversations or even doing like readings with one of us is it's not just the words that come out. There's so much energy that comes through from our guides, from our counsel, from spirit, that is transmitted through our words and the energy through us onto everyone out there, right? Into the whole kind of collective, that sometimes when we're absorbing that, we don't always absorb some of the messages either. So writing down certain things that come up is always helpful, because then you can look back at your notes and be like, oh yeah, that's what they meant by this. So I think that's a little tidbit. So welcome, ladies. That was a long worded intro.
That's okay. I want to jump in real quick and just give people some dates before we get ahead of ourselves,
Let's do
so they
it.
understand the eclipse window or gateway and all of that. So
I'm gonna write
we are
them down too.
recording this a few days before it is to be posted. So we're talking from a standpoint of before.
Yeah.
So the first one is a new moon solar eclipse. It is the second new moon in Aries for us to experience. So that's special in itself. 2 new beginnings with fire elements behind it, really sparking the flame. And then we have this solar eclipse that happens on the 19th. And then it is followed by another eclipse, the lunar eclipse, on May 5th. So from the 19th of April to May 5th is where the eclipse gateway is. Now, the really interesting thing about this first one is that it is a really rare, they call it a hybrid eclipse, because depending where you are in the world, you can either see it as a full eclipse where it just completely blocks out the light, or you can see it as an annular one where you see the ring around it. So that is a rarity in itself. So we're really kicking it off with a bunch of fire behind it, opening up into these magical alignments, probably the most intense time of the year within this eclipse window for massive transformation.
Yes.
So with
Now,
everything we're going to.
Interesting though that this eclipse is happening on like the last day of Aries. And so that it like slides in there and gets it from the advantage point of the fire of Aries, right?
It
like
feels
it
like
need
bookends of like fire.
yes,
It's like
right,
coming in with a really fiery bang and then ending with a really
yes,
fiery bang
right,
into the eclipse gateway.
right. But
Totally.
what is, and like the biggest thing about this is the rebirth of the anew, like starting fresh, like getting rid of the old and starting fresh. And like, what do fires do really? Right? It creates that new growth that could never happen without the like heat of that fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
So everything is very purposeful in this transition from Aries to Taurus, having these new moon, this last new moon, then the eclipse, and like it's very powerful, and it comes with a pretty hefty hit. And I don't mean that in like a negative way to be fearful, but you like, I feel, especially if you're listening, because you're probably tuned in and quite empathic, you're gonna feel this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And I think we're already feeling it. I know we are all feeling a little wobbly in and out of timelines. Like clarity of the mind is there in some ways, but like the reference within your reality seems to change. So, for an example, is trying to look at your schedule and remember what's on your schedule for the day, and it just won't stick. Like it keeps sliding out, and you're like, where did that go? I have no idea what's going on. And I know, Elyse, you were feeling that today too.
Elyse, no.
I don't know what you're talking
You
about.
didn't feel that today.
I don't know. I'm available. No, I'm not. I'm available. No, I'm not. I'm available. I'm not. Just kidding. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what day it is. Where am I? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. You know, one thing I want to say though, that I find really neat. So moving from Aries, which is fire, into Taurus, which is earth, to me, what really stands out in that energy is things being made manifest. So as we step into Taurus, it's like what actual things are going to be made manifest in your reality now because of what has burned in the fires of Aries. And again, not a negative burn, but
No.
you know,
The creation burn.
yeah, like what will you see as tangible effects of all the learning, growing, changing, morphing that you've done? Feel like when we step into Taurus, we get to see it in some form.
Yes.
I find that exciting.
And I just got too that they said, who's been coming through like crazy about this, that even if you don't think that you're ready for it, they'll get you ready. So you might experience things really quickly, or it might almost feel confrontational in situations with people or schedules, or all of a sudden a deadline will come up, or all of a sudden you'll have to make a decision real quick about something. And they said, don't fear that. Use that as an opportunity to lean right into that natural filtration system of like what you want, what you don't want. These decisions coming up in the next week are going to be big decisions that allow you to more quickly move into the frequency and the timeline frequency that you want, that you've been asking for.
Mm-hmm.
So they're like, whether you're ready or not, here we come.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I keep getting this visual in my mind of, you know, when you're like, say in plane turbulence or something like that, or you'll see this kind of scene in a movie where all of a sudden, like, you hit a bump or you hit a turbulence and like everything kind of flies up in the air and then suspends. I feel like we've been in that suspension. Like it's been fiery suspension. So not to say that nothing's moved, but it's felt really like, oh, this is up in the air. No, now it's this. No, that was this. And it's been really discombobulating where you're like, I thought I was going this way. Oh, now I'm going this way. Ergo, my schedule today. I was like, oh, over here. Nope, over there. Oh, what am I doing? And time has been really strange for me.
Time
especially.
has
Oh
been bonkers.
It's like, I don't know how there's 24 hours in a day more. I don't think there is. I think that's just not true anymore. But like in this state of flux, and what's going to happen in the eclipse portal is like things are starting to fall. And again, not in a negative way, but it's like this thing has fallen and grounded down into a timeline. And this thing that you've been wanting is going down. Or, these two, we weren't sure. We were going back and forth. Don't know. One's gonna solidify in. And so even things like last week that I was like, what is happening? Like, I did not see X, Y, and Z coming. Over the last couple of days, especially, have felt a lot more peaceful of like, okay, that's still not at all what I expected, but okay, I can feel a little more grounded in it.
Definitely.
You know, like the earth sign, right?
I can totally agree with that, Elyse. Where I felt quite spicy about things over the last 3 days. Today, it's not that I don't feel it anymore. It's just I'm like, yeah, okay. I can almost comprehend more in a thought than I could before.
Yeah.
Yesterday. yesterday.
Yeah. You know, I want to say too, though, at the same time, my guides are like, but don't discount the days that are left within Aries. So here's the thing though. So we will be fully into Taurus by the time this goes out live. So we will now be in the energies, or those watching it will be in the energies of Taurus. So the invitation would be, notice what transpired in the last days of this week.
I think that's why it was like, take note so that you can that's what that must have been about. Okay.
Yeah. So it can really make sense. So essentially you can feel really supported because Spirit knows that we have been moving along our path, but we've been feeling the fires. Often they call it the fires of initiation. We've been feeling it. We've been feeling the burn, the shift, the uncertainty of the sparks and all this. And they know that. But a lot of that was for us to reaffirm what it is we wanted. And now the alignments really come into play where it can be grounded.
Yeah.
So if we take note of the things that begin to transpire, we can learn to trust it more as we see more things transpire, because not everything is going to land today. Obviously, we know that. But sometimes, although we know that, we kind of expect it.
Definitely.
And so then a day or two into Taurus of Earth energy, we're like, well, where is it? And I know I've done that before. And I know that in reality, it's not going to show up day one, all of it. And it takes time to unfold. But if we can see the little steps along the way, we can then be on track with it and feeling good and feeling more peace in our body, therefore bringing in more energy to draw it to us. Yeah.
I feel like that can even look like gut, like intuitions. It might not be the actualization of something, but it's I feel like I want to take this course. Why am I thinking about this all of a sudden?
Totally.
Or, oh, I feel like I want to go there. Never thought about that before. It's just these random things that can come in that we just haven't even thought about before. Or maybe it's like, I have this grand plan of, X, Y, and Z, and I'm asking about what I do with my future career or what's my soul's purpose. And then, you don't necessarily get the, okay, day one of Taurus, you now have a new business and you're doing da, 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 da. You start to get in a couple weeks time or a little bit of time. Oh, I had a conversation with somebody and something sparked in me when they said, take this Reiki course or, whatever it is. It's like those little, it's not to discount. We're in a really intense energetic time where it feels like a lot of people are getting smacked upside of the head, like very blatantly with certain things, certain understandings, whatever. But it's also to not negate the subtleties and those like little things that are just kind of gnawing in the back of your head.
It's more like a love tap versus a hard hit, right? Because it's like, it's hitting you. At least literally, I have to acknowledge what you just said, because it feels like you crawled in my brain and told everybody what was going on in there. But yeah, it's like this love tap where it kind of gets you going into coming back to or remembering the spark, right? And not so much of getting in like the human head space of thinking through everything. It's like, hey, with this energy, we're bringing in your remembering and that realization of the things that you legitimately are in control of. Like your thoughts and like the manifestation of the energy of your thoughts is like everything, and how you can create. Like it's almost like we're getting these tiny little wake-up calls of remembering things from a higher level. And I say higher, I mean like a higher frequency, because we're remembering it faster. So it's like we're getting pulled into this higher frequency faster by these little tidbits and these little gifts given to us to be able to like get us back into motion. And you kind of called that, didn't you, G? Saying like April is getting you in motion.
That's true, because it was totally new energy after the solstice and stuff, like really ridding the frequencies of 2022, fully embracing the energies of 2023.
But that this like into 2023 hasn't been like overly spectacular like I thought necessarily. Like when you're like day one, let's go. It's not like, it's almost like the transition into 2023 was a bit long.
It
got a
did feel
little,
long this year.
yeah,
It did
it
feel
like,
long.
yeah, it got a little bit dragged out. You know what I mean? And it's like, come on, 2023. Where's your energy? We're on this like upward perspective now. You know,
Yeah.
like, come on, 2023, show me what you got. You're better than this.
Mhm. So I think that one of the things that I would really recommend people really embrace with this eclipse gateway we're in is how change is taking place in your life, like really embracing change. And I say that, and I'm using the word change very specifically because under the umbrella that is change can be various ways that it changes. So it could be financial windfall, but it could be a financial loss, which then puts you in a position to then create something which is
Start
completely
something
in your
new.
alignment.
Yeah.
It can also be births, pregnancies, but it can also very much be death. There is often more of an increase in exits, people dying during eclipse windows, eclipse gateways like this.
Really?
Yeah, because it's almost like, how would I explain it? It's just like an energetic pull. And I almost want to say that it's kind of like comfort in numbers, where more souls are willing to kind of journey over sort of together. It's not quite that, but that's the best that I can explain it. So
Totally.
it's quite common for a lot of people within the couple, like a week or so leading up to a gateway, and then a week after and during, there's this kind of bigger, larger amount of people that cross over. So
Yes.
if that happens too within this window, like that's very divinely timed.
Yeah.
It really is. And so change, the umbrella of change in our lives right now is really significant. And the more we can notice where those are taking place and where the roots of them are, the more we can really make the most of it and see these different shifts as blessings for the most part,
Yeah.
or opportunities to realign if you don't like what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like that just directly links back to SET last week with Cindy, right? And talking about the ways in which these roots have taken hold. I mean, I know since we had that conversation, I've been reflecting on like, okay, I think there's an agreement here. I think there's one here. I think there's one here. And like, there's some places that I know. And it's interesting because I've been like, okay, I'm going to do it. And then I was like so sick on the weekend and over the last week that I just, every time I try and meditate, I'm like, oh, I just can't. Like, you just can't get out of the, I can't breathe. That was basically the issue. And so you can't get very meditated when you can't breathe. And I was like, I feel like I need to like do that after the conversation with Cindy. But as we're sitting here, I'm like, no, I think this is meant for that eclipse portal to let go of just the pieces that those cycles that we seem stuck in. Because I know for me and a lot of my clients, those cycles are coming back around at deeper layers again and again right now. And it's bringing it all up to the surface to move through in whatever way that looks like, right? It's going to look a little bit different for everybody, and the layers in which you've gone through something, whether it's a newer experience or something that you've been working through for what feels like maybe a long
Your
period
whole
of time.
life.
Yeah. Just a cool
So
lifetime.
I have to share a little bit of a personal story about this because it's wild. So I had come into the realization of a very, very major agreement contract thing. I would say less than 12 hours before we talked to Cindy. And so everyone who watched Spirit Coffee Talk last week, when I was like this the whole time,
We're like,
because I was there, I was in my Akashic records and I was looking at this deep, the deepest contract that you could imagine. Like, not that anything's more deep than somebody else's, but I mean, for me, that was probably my most major. And I saw how this contract had affected my entire life because it actually was significant within the first week that I was born, is when it all started actually, and progressed my entire life. And so I ended up just working with Spirit and my guides and having everything open up, and spent a lot of time in my Akashic records and in and out of timelines, to be honest. So I had a bit of a wonky week, but I had the opportunity to come face to face with this contract. And it took a sec for sure. But it's interesting because when I got into it and got to identify it and not call it out, but place it and say, I acknowledge this in such a way that was also acknowledged on a soul level, like where the contract was actually made. It was freedom instantaneously. And how I can describe it as, when Ginette, when you talk about your NDE, when you said it was like I was there for days, but then you come back and you were actually gone for 10 minutes or whatever, or an hour, or whatever it was, right? The time in which I felt the freedom and the experience was that of every lifetime ever, always encompassed it in a moment, and from now to forevermore. But I actually acknowledged how that felt in the moment, because I was obviously in a different frequency than here. And in that moment, I experienced it all at once. I experienced every single moment and feeling all simultaneously at the same time in the present moment, just like within a split second. Just it was wild. And then my whole body kind of did the whole like whoa kind of thing. And then I just cried and cried and cried and cried and cried, because I had to release all of that stored energy. And then afterwards, it felt like I was in and out, and but it was interesting because I've never actually experienced all moments at once all together in a moment. I've never, like, I've traveled a lot, like overnight. I've astral traveled. I've gone to different places and interacted, and I know the concept of not having time. I know that it's very real, but I never have experienced all emotion moments, past, present, future, all in one moment like that before. With the release. It was intense. It's taken me all day to recover.
That's so the energy of exactly this time, though. Like, that's one example. They are often intense life changes, but not for negative necessarily, but there's an intensity to it to either change course or attain freedom in some form or something like that. Like, there is intensity behind it.
Yes.
And then
and usually when you're saying intensity, people think, oh no, I don't need things to be intense. But it is for freedom, like for something to be that intense and then follow it up with that sense of freedom or that lightness. That's the whole point. And they're like, that's the point of this, the energy in these eclipse seasons. And that's the point of this portal is, yes, it's intense, but for a very, very good high source experience, right?
Ava agrees.
I just have to turn off my crazy fireplace. Hold on here, because it's lighting
going on
and
and off
going
again?
out and lighting and going out and beeping. And just 1 second.
Just 1 second.
BRB. The dogs are barking.
I have not heard your dogs once.
Oh, really?
No.
Oh, Ava just freaked out in the background.
Are you muting it? Is that why I can't hear it?
No, I have the noise suppression on high because Dexter's also in here, like sawing logs, like
snoring.
Oh yeah. So
That's funny. Yeah, I love that example that you shared, Lisa, honestly, because that is such a great example of what we're in right now. And we really can make the most of it if we're willing to look at it through a lens of like changing growth, but not the changing growth we're used to, where we're like slogging in a dark forest, not knowing where we're going. It's like we are pushing through the mud or getting out of the mud completely. We're walking away. This is like eight of cups type energy, where it's like walking away from something.
We're walking
into new life.
away.
Yeah.
Right. And I remember talking to you, was it last week? And I'm like, I can feel it. I can feel it. I'm like, gee, I can't go into the dark again. I can't go into the dark night of the soul. I can't go back. And you're like, you're not going back. It doesn't have to be like that. And in my head, I was like, because if it's like that, I ain't coming out. Like, there's no way I can go straight back in there again. And so the intensity is there, but it's completely different.
Yeah.
Right.
Fair. Interesting.
Yeah. Have you guys felt a surge of like new ideas and like things that have come forward to you where you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't realize this was my lifelong dream kind of thing?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. How about you, Elyse? Have you noticed? You've had some changing energies, even on the weekend. You were feeling them shift.
Yeah. Was it on? It was on Sunday because that was the first day I was starting to feel alive again. Um, and couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it was just this energy of like things are settling in. Things are like a lot of people have been saying something's coming, and I think we can all agree. Like, I mean, we can look around and say that, but even just with the energies and all the astrology and all of that, there's a real awareness that something big things are coming. And again, not bad, just change, intensity. But I really felt like I think I even wrote on Sunday. I didn't journal at all, other than I just wrote like I can feel that things are starting to shift. And I didn't really know what they were. But even, interestingly, not necessarily new for me, but old things that I was like, I don't want that. That then all of a sudden I'm like, maybe I do.
Yeah.
I feel like I do now. I feel like I'm now opening up to the idea of something that I would have like a year ago been like, nah, I don't think so. I think I'm good. I'm gonna go this direction instead. So it's interesting. And I think it's to say too that it's not necessarily whatever materializes isn't going to be exactly what comes up now. But I think one thing I was reflecting on today in having like career conversations with someone is like we never know what the next thing leads to. So when I think of my own career trajectory, I wouldn't have thought this. I wouldn't have thought at all what I would be doing now, what I am in the like 17 different jobs that I have. And like actually, but like all of them are completely opposite of the person I was, the skill sets that I had, the way I would identify myself,
Totally.
how I would show up in the world. It's like
Even like a year ago, Elyse, don't you think how much it has changed and evolved
a
in a
year for
year?
sure. But when I think to like my baby Elyse trying to go out and get her first big girl job,
Yeah.
like I couldn't speak to anybody without like breaking out in hives, let alone teach courses and do something like there was no skill set, there was no desire, there was no like it's a hard no. And so all to say I'm just seeing, I kind of looked at how a lot of it wasn't intentional either. It was very like next right step, next right step, and things that I would have been like, oh hell no, I'm never doing that, or I would never be good at that, or I would never enjoy that, have completely changed. Some things haven't, but I guess to say that, as these new ideas are coming up or as these new understandings are like, oh, that might feel like a good idea, that doesn't mean that that's the end result. It means that
Right.
could be the next right step. And then from
Right.
that comes you meet an incredible person who blows your mind hole open about this other thing that you would have never, ever thought of even
Right.
existing. And so,
Because
I'm
your
really
line of thought and frequency is in that vibration, which has opened up to that experience.
yeah.
I love that. That's so beautiful to remember, because if we only did all the things that we thought we wanted to do, we'd be so like stuck in a little tiny box,
Especially
right?
when we're just coming out of the chaotic times, right? Or
Yeah.
and not to say we're fully out of them from like a collective experience yet, but when we're coming out of our own, you were just talking about you just came out of the darkness. Like what we thought we wanted coming out of our a dark period is not going to be the same, but it's going to be that next right step that then leads you to the lighter step, that leads you to the lighter step, and on and on and on it goes. And I know for me too, like my brain, when I've been really taxed and really stressed and I've been in kind of that dark night, my brain wants to be like, okay, what's the plan? Get yourself out of this. Where are you going? What are you doing? Like, I want to plan ahead. I want to create structure for myself and safety and stability. And there's nothing inherently wrong with that. And
But
also not blocking yourself from
right. But then what did you
all that
find
can
yourself
come from
doing?
that.
What did you find yourself doing after all of that came up? Was it actually putting your head down and like busting through? No.
Yeah.
Freaking
Well, I think it
resting.
depends, right? For me, it was, but I was putting my head down and being like, no, Elyse, resist the urge to do a million things. You need to stop and sit down and take a dang rest. So
Yes.
sometimes it is that rigidity, but for like safety and nourishment to support ourselves to reconnect so that we can still be open to what's the next right step, what can come, because the fear, the stress, all the things just do a really good job of like creating blocks and creating,
Yes.
rigidity or rules, or this is what it has to look like, when who the heck knows?
Right. And they're also saying, remember that the old programming and the old paradigm was driven on that motivational speaker, get up and do, go, extroverted, masculine doing, right? And now they're like, remember, it sometimes takes more courage to just leave the situation or stop the action than it is to follow through. Don't be a quitter. You got to follow through to the end. And they're like, no, remember, that's no longer in alignment with your highest good. It's that sometimes you have to checkpoint. Do I want to leave out of fear of my own fear? Or is it because I know it's not in my greatest good? You can feel into it and get a good understanding, but they're like, lots of times it's the courage to leave a situation that's actually holding you back from your greatest good, right? You having that courage. What came through, G?
Several different things. One of them is that, okay, so I'm just trying to put it together in language. One of them is that many of us are caught in these energetics of sensationalism right now. And I'm not saying that those listening necessarily are, but more like the collective. The collective is really caught in sensationalism, whether it be spiritual sensationalism or political, economic, whatever sensationalism. So they're saying, even in awakening, notice if that's the themes that are really either triggering you or pulling you, because you want to move past that. You want to get to the grounded ones that speak more clearly to you, essentially sitting in like a 5D energy. So notice, even in these times of change and intensity, notice if you're getting down to the roots of it, or if you're in the like sensationalism of it. So that was one thing.
Can you give me an example?
Like, yeah, I mean, we talked about it a little bit, I guess, with false prophets and guru ideas the other session. And it's like, when, say, a spiritual practice is really being pushed in a very sensational way, that like all the celebrities are doing it and you have to do it this way and you have to this, and you need to devote this much of your time for this and this, and this whole big thing. It's like, we need to really, in these times of change and in these times of intensity, is really recognize where our roots are. And I love how that's really what we're stepping into in Taurus, which is earthy, rooted, and everything. It's like the energy is there to help us. We just need to plant our roots, and then the rest will be taken care of. So it's kind of like, don't get swept away in the ideals of anyone unless it really aligns with your ideal, you alone, no matter what.
Love that.
So that's kind of where they're going with that.
Okay. What was the other one?
The other one I can't quite make sense of yet, so I think that's going to come later.
Okay.
It's just in pieces. I would need to actually like totally meditate to get into that
Like
one.
that TikTok
Yeah.
where they're like, baloney.
Yeah, totally. Yes.
Jeez.
Yes. Yeah. So any other kind of last minute thoughts or ideas for everyone as we all embark on this portal eclipse
Okay.
portal?
I'm just going to share this. I hope I don't like make it way more difficult to comprehend than it should be. Okay. So it's like they show me this like bubble of compliancy, maybe like happily unhappy. And then there's like right beforehand that small little portion that is like blissfully happy. And then sometimes on the other side of that bubble, it is really hard, like insanely hard. Okay. So they're saying it doesn't have to be so distinctly different. But they're showing me, the vast majority is sitting in this bubble of complacency.
Complacency. Yeah.
Okay. And so if you have felt or have just experienced or are feeling this sense of like this really hard push, they're saying we're trying to get you out of the bubble of complacency, and it might have to have that influence of that really negative, not negative, they're like, no, like hard situation, because without that, it's very easy to stay in a place that you're happily unhappy, because it's almost something that you get used to that you don't know the difference.
Mm-hmm.
Just like if you get really, really sick and naturally have a good cleanse and then realize when you're better that you were really not feeling well for a really long time, and now your body's like flushed of toxins and you feel like $1,000,000.
Mm-hmm.
So this is kind of the same idea. They're like, we're going to shove a little people out of that bubble, because if they don't get through something so significant, so they're giving me the idea of a relationship. If you stumble upon a toxic relationship and you find them with someone else or something yucky like that, or your boss slips up and does something and you're like, oh my God, I can't work for this sociopath anymore, or whatever it might be, then you leave. And that instance might be really intense, but they're saying sometimes we have to throw things like that just to get you out faster, so that
Mm-hmm.
bubble of happily unhappy reduces.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That's very true.
So like, hold your head up. Hold your head up, because with this energy, it's swift, it's quick, and it's change. And so if people might feel that, really hold on to the knowing and belief that absolutely nothing is going to happen or happens just to mess with you and make you miserable. Never,
Mm-hmm.
ever, ever. And if you're feeling something that intense, it is literally because it's time for you to experience the light on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm. So much growth.
Totally.
Yeah. How about you, Elyse? Any closing thoughts?
I think just on the tail of that, like, take lots of time for yourself. I know we say that a lot, but like growth, like think of a kid going through a growth spurt, right? Like they're tired and they ache and they need some extra snacks and they need more rest, and like just carve out space for yourself where you can. It feels like this week has, I know, Ginette, your week's been bananas, and it just feels like it's a bit of a chaos leading into it. And I'm going to try to be really intentional about carving out space in this next little bit of time. But yeah, I would say like if there is a lot happening, know that that's exhausting, and it's not bad, but we just need time to like be with that.
Mm-hmm.
So
Beautiful.
Love it.
Awesome. Okay.
And it helps to get together with good friends and talk about it.
Mm-hmm.
It really helps move the energy.
Talk about it. I'm gonna go out after this. So
I made a super yummy butter chicken with no chicken.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Mm.
We're recording this at nighttime.
Yeah.
Like,
usually we
hungry.
don't. I mean, I'm having my coffee.
Yeah, morning. Tired.
That's funny. All right.
Okay. Have a great weekend, everybody.
All right. Thanks everyone for joining us. Let's see you soon.
Bye.